kind of went around and solicited advice from former guests for Charla of what they would say if they were encouraging her while on the podcast today. So
I'm considering this. So Mike says it'll live in your head forever. If you've only been on there one time.
Yeah.
Is he being serious?
I think what he was saying, his exact thing was like, just as importantly, the things that I said that I wish I hadn't said, the other things I wish I did say that I didn't say. He felt like he left some things unsaid, which good news is we do this once a week. So
those guys, he's a young guy.
He is.
He's still worried about his image.
Probably still worries how he smells, you know?
Smelling on a podcast.
Yeah,
sure.
it's a problem.
Whereas I really have no dignity left. I'm joking. But there is something about you grow out of that a little, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. Well, Charlotte, welcome in. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Won't you do us a favor? Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do here at Village Caregiving.
I am Charla Wilds, executive director of the Johnson City, Tennessee office.
Can you hear it without singing it?
What?
Johnson City, Tennessee. Wagon Wheel?
I mean, I know that song. I didn't know that was a lyric in that song, though.
Okay, well, that's fine. Really?
Is it? Is it a lyric in this song? I should know.
You should know this.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I'm sorry. I used to go to Johnson City, Tennessee all the time when I was a little kid for soccer tournaments.
Oh,
so
really?
I have like a big history with it. I don't think of it as just a lyric in a song and not even a real place like some. To me, I'm more intimately familiar with the people and the town itself. Right?
Are you questioning my love affair with Eastern Tennessee right now?
Yeah.
As if I just know it through a lyric to a Darius Rucker
All you care
cover?
about is Dollywood, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. I mean, if you go any further east than that, lately with all
Johnson
the
City.
tragedies they've had
Yeah.
and the flooding and whatnot, Danielle, your wife, was trapped down there for days on end. They've had it really, really rough.
She was almost an Asheville resident.
I know. It's not a joke, man. Charlotte's got some, I don't know if you want to share any of that stuff, but I bet it's been a heck of a time.
It has.
And what's sad there is, too, like the whole nation's eyes are on that situation for a couple of days, and then there were 2 back-to-back hurricanes that come through Florida, so it distracts everybody's attention to the next disaster, as it happens. Mm-hmm. But then all of the outpouring of funds and support and, attention, it just goes away really quickly. But that'll take how many years to rebuild, come back from fully?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
And a lot of the places won't even rebuild at this point. Some of them have said they will, some won't. But it's sad. But the amount of people that got together and just pulled together was amazing. Yeah. It was heartwarming. Being a part of it, I went to Irwin with a friend of mine to do some volunteer work with Village Caregiving as well. And it just, I spent some of the time in tears because it was just amazing to see people lost everything and yet they're still smiling and telling jokes. It's kind of like, it's the people.
Yeah.
It's the Appalachian people. Absolutely.
So what happened there was a pretty uncommon, but a massive storm system moved in ground, but it was just torrential downpours over a period of time, which then overran all the water systems there along the Appalachian corridors and getting down into those lower valley areas, just extreme flooding, right? We saw that happen years ago in Pikeville and over on that side of the mountains pass. But over into eastern Tennessee and then Virginia, the Carolinas, they just inland got absolutely destroyed, right? Mm-hmm. Johnson City was kind of along the path of that, but you guys were kind of spared from that. But your service area, did you have some impact? Was all your staff okay?
We had some impact. We had a couple of clients that we couldn't get to for some time. One in particular, it took us almost 3 weeks, and still it takes us twice as long to get to him because all the bridges to him are gone.
I see.
So they have one bridge running, and it's way out of the way, so you kind of have to go way around to get to him. Yeah. But we finally made it to him. But the biggest thing, it was Irwin. Johnson City wasn't affected really at all. There was a little bit of rain in that, but nothing, no high waters. Greenville, the river that runs through. In fact, the gentleman I'm talking about lives in Greenville, and that river, Nolichucky, it was unbelievable.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I mean,
wild.
because had that is in historical records, do they know of? Has that ever happened there before?
I no, not to that.
It doesn't even make sense to me. I mean, I'm obviously not a geologist or whatever, but how, when you look at these images, and I had just been there like weeks before, I went to Boone, North Carolina for a long weekend, and I'm seeing these pictures coming back. Sarah shows me one at a place we had stopped and had lunch. It was around Damascus, little town, an hour north or so. It was a cute place. They had a porch outside, live music, and we got some wings and fries and whatnot. And she's like, "Look at where that place." I forget the name of it right now, but look at where it was. And she shows me the picture, and I keep like zooming in and out. I'm like, I don't see, like, is it like a dot? She's like, it's just that was that field. It's gone. Like literally completely erased from the face of the earth. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't even in a low elevation spot. That's the part I was going to say that doesn't even make sense. Like take Boone. The whole downtown is so flooded, but that's higher than like kind of, how it goes down off the hill, like to the state. How does that even happen? Like, no wonder you're completely unprepared. It's just, it doesn't even make any sense to me with the way, gravitationally, it doesn't make sense. How could, like, if my house flooded, I live on like one of the biggest has hills in the area. I've always told myself, if my house floods, when they ask, do you need insurance? I'm like, well, that means Noah's Ark is next door.
That's exactly what I say about my house. I live way up on a hill, way up.
Right. So that's an extreme example, but what we're talking about isn't that much different. Like, that doesn't seem like that could ever happen in some of those places that got devastated.
Yeah, it's wild. But, so that happened. And, as you see a major metro area, Miami gets hammered, and there's a lot of people, a lot of resources. These Appalachian towns, they were kind of left to their own devices, especially immediately following during evacuations and stuff. And I think the state resources did what they could. Federal government activated where they could. But the real amazing stories, as you were kind of talking, was the folks that in those communities, without really anything of their own, kind of came together. It kind of just more plays into the common theme that we talk about on here. There's just something unique and special. You had made a comment earlier today. I won't tell your story, but there was a period of time where you were really a resident of the tri-state area here. You're not from here, but work had brought you here, and then eventually led you to Johnson City, back to near family. And you had said something about it's the same people. There's just miles between them, right? And that is a very common sentiment, I think, along here. What we saw the challenges in Asheville and over into the Carolinas was, I think the same way that when the tree hit my house and I come home and all of my neighbors are there cutting the tree up, it's that same type of people and that same mentality of we're not waiting on someone else. We're just going to grab the tools and get in there and do it. So. It is Johnson City is a really cool place. It's a fun town. It's a little college town along the mountain area there. It's beautiful. You said you went there as a child, so
yeah, a few times a year. Well, what we need to do is not be caught up in the wave that's easy wave of people that's easy to forget about it. And as village caregiving and individuals, continue to support and make donations, and that's something we need to do for that area. So,
yeah, they're continually building. It hasn't stopped, and I mean, there's a lot of people that still. I mean, their homes are just gone. I mean, there's nothing property left, and that's it. They're sleeping in tents, even still. And some of the places, horseback is the only way you can get to them. So their supplies are being dropped in by helicopters and on horseback, just like the old days.
When you see opportunities where we can help, let us know, and we want to do that. Yep.
Charla, so let's get into your story a little bit. I have found Charla and I had she took me to a pizzeria in Johnson City, and we got to really tell each other our stories of how we ended up where we are in life. Your story starts where? Where were you born and raised at?
Maryland.
You were in
Silver
Maryland.
Spring, Maryland, right outside of D.C.
So you were outside the beltway of D.C. And what year did you leave the Maryland area? At what age, I should say? I shouldn't say what year, but how long were you up there for?
I was 35
Okay.
when I left Maryland. My mom moved to Tennessee after my dad died. My mom is originally born and raised in Greenville, Tennessee.
Okay.
So all of her family is in Greenville, Tennessee. So when my father passed away, she decided that she wanted to go back home to her roots and her brothers and sisters and be closer to them.
Did you go there and visit when you was a kid? Did you go?
All the time. I spent summers in Tennessee. So I'm kind of, I don't consider myself that transplant that they hate, the Yankee that comes down and stays.
Sure.
I was half and half.
I got you. So you would go back home to the Tennessee area.
Yeah.
And then what did you do professionally from the time you reached adulthood until you made the trip back home?
I actually was in the jewelry business. I sold jewelry, was a manager for K's for 20 plus years. And up in D.C., a small mom and pop place, they had 7 stores, and I ran 3 of them.
Oh, wow.
It's up there. So that's all I've done my whole life.
Yeah.
And
So you decide to move to Tennessee. You go to Eastern Tennessee. You leave the big city of Silver Springs, you say?
Well, I was living in Frederick at the time when
Okay.
I left, because I've lived all over Maryland, Baltimore, Frederick, which is out in rural Maryland,
Yeah.
and even Silver Spring and down the D.C. area too. But yeah,
What moved you around Maryland? Work?
I,
Is that why you moved around the state, you mean?
yeah, work,
Okay.
different stores, things like that.
Yeah.
So you end up in East Tennessee. You move down there. You said you're about 35-ish. And you go right back into the jewelry business, or where does life lead you there?
I took a few months off,
Okay.
and just to figure out what I wanted to do, because retail's a hard life. It's a hard life. And I was raising my son by myself, and I spent a lot of time away from home. I said, I don't really want to go into retail. Maybe I want to try something else. My aunt was this, I don't know if you've ever heard of, they make car parts for like Toyotas, Mazdas, Japanese run factory. My aunt was really high up there, and she said, just you come on and you can work, and I'll work you into the office after a while, but you'll have to work the floor and earn your stripes. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
What was
So-
her position at?
I don't know what her name, her name was but she was pretty higher up in the company,
Okay.
but I don't know what her title was.
She had an administrative
She had
level position within this organization. And she said, I can get you a job here, probably in the office at some point, but you got to start out on the assembly floor.
You start on the floor.
I start on the floor.
At
Okay.
35,
At
single
35.
mom,
I
new
have
town.
a feeling this is going somewhere good.
Listen, it was the gates of hell.
See, I knew it.
It was.
Why?
Because it was so hot. And I even
Oh,
worked at
literally.
night. I
Okay.
worked nights, and it was also the gates of hell.
Literally and
Literally and figuratively.
Well, I think you got to get out.
Yeah. But my aunt told me, would say, oh, she'll never make it. Yeah, she'll never be able to do this. This is just going to be fun, to watch her not be able to work this floor.
That's
I
not
stayed
nice.
There no, it wasn't.
What was your job? What did you do there?
I ran this huge painting machine, and they put me on the hardest machine because you had to paint one color on this side, and then you had to paint a color on this side. That machine was typically run by 3 people, but at nights, it was only 1 person. So I had to run from one side to the other, load the parts. These tray of parts were like 50 pounds all night long.
Are you saying that your aunt did this
I should
jokingly or maliciously? Like
Jokingly, but she just figured I would not hold out.
You
for
didn't
that
have the
type
grit
of-
to do it.
I didn't have the grit. That's a good word.
Charla won't make it a week down there on the
But
floor.
she's the one that recruited you to do it. Mm-hmm. Good. Is she still with us today? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to leave it alone, but that's odd. Okay.
Well,
Hold on, the story's got more twists and turns to it.
Oh, all right.
So, but I do it. I end up staying for an entire year because I was like, I'm not quitting. I don't care if I melt here. I am not quitting.
Are you covered in paint?
I would come home looking like somebody dragged me through paint, hair stuck out everywhere.
This is one of the worst jobs I've heard yet.
It was one of the worst jobs I've ever had in my life. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? But I'm not giving up. I am not. But the reason why I was brought there, I think, was to meet my husband. I met my
okay.
husband there.
And how does that story go?
Because, well, he's from East Tennessee, and this man offers me a bite of his egg salad sandwich that he purchased out of a vending machine. Who does that? Jeff, who purchases egg salad out of a vending machine? At 3 o'clock in the morning.
I might do it, but I can't say that I ever have.
Well, I was thinking, who is this person?
Yeah.
And why is he offering me a bite? It was my first night there, actually, because I was lost. Didn't know what to do. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's eating pizza and stuff. And I'm like, ugh, I can't do this.
Yeah, you're not a midnight shift
No.
person anyways.
No.
Egg salad is good, though.
Oh, I love egg
It's not
salad.
bad. Yeah, it's not bad. I don't know about vending machine egg salad, but
If it's sealed up good, it's good.
okay.
That's what he
I'm kind of
said.
in the mood for it. Now that we're talking, okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
But
He gives you a
know,
bite of his egg salad
I didn't
sandwich. Oh.
take the bite. I was like, no.
This
no.
is a strange man. Night one of my shift.
Night one of my
Yeah.
shift, this man sits down next to me and offers me a bite of an egg salad sandwich. Disgusting. Who does that?
And he's thinking, playing hard to get, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly she loves egg salad. Everyone loves egg salads. That can't be the problem.
Yeah, clearly. But I went home to my mom because I was living at my mom's house at that time. And she was like, so how is it? I was like, weird. I told you I didn't want to move to Tennessee. People are weird. They're not really. They're
Yeah.
great people. But my husband, that's where I met him. And yeah. So I was brought there for a purpose.
I see.
And I lasted over a year in that. My husband gave it the name Gates of Hell, actually.
Gosh.
He was there just temporarily.
Yeah.
He's a truck driver by trade. So
Are we going to have to bleep out the name of this organization that we've called Hell?
probably.
Oh, I bet their Google reviews bear it out.
We might beep we'll beep the name. Well, gosh, what a tremendous amount of grit you must have. I mean, you go to a place you're describing as hell to come home covered in paint with your hair sticking every which way,
Yeah.
recruited there by a family member who is laughingly thinking
I'm-
you're going to fail. And you're just like, no, I'm not.
I'm
and you
not.
stick it out. What's that all about? I mean, where's that come from? Who put that bone in your body?
My mom.
Yeah?
My mom nothing knocked my mom down. I actually was at lunch today. I was telling the group there that my mom, she had an 8th grade education. She left home when she was 16 years old and went up to Maryland, met my dad. The rest is sort of history, but she created a business, a huge business with an 8th grade education by grit, hard work and grit. And I hope that's where I get that from.
Yeah.
I hope. There's no giving up, but
Oh, good job, Mom.
yeah.
What's
she
your
was good.
husband's name?
Mark.
Mark. I would have taken a bite of that egg salad. I just know I could have resisted it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of the joke around our house, though. So we celebrate 2 things. We celebrate 2 anniversaries. We celebrate the egg salad bite anniversary when we actually met, and then, of course, our actual
Your wedding
anniversary, our wedding anniversary.
That's a beautiful idea. Right
Isn't that
there.
cool?
Do you ever have any moments like dates that stick out to you more so than the dates you were ceremoniously proclaimed husband and wife?
No. I'm not a big date guy. Like I don't
Yeah, you're
remember.
right.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
a big date guy.
Okay.
So,
Moving along.
so as life would happen, you end up back in the jewelry business.
Yeah. So when the company that I left, the man that ran it, I called him and I said, listen, I'm going to get back into jewelry because I'm not feeling this whole
Hell yeah.
sweat and tears game. But
But that is tough though too. Like you said, retail's really tough and it's a harder life. It's because I think the hours
Hours
and
are
also
tough.
the days of the year. When are you busiest? It's like Christmas
Christmas.
Eve. All the guys run in there late.
Valentine's, Christmas.
Yeah, take away from your family and all these really important. That's tough too.
Yeah.
And I ran jewelry stores. So
That's what I
with
mean.
Kay's, and I mean, you were.
The mall is just popping.
Yeah.
When is Kay's doing their most business other
Right.
than guys running in there on Christmas Eve desperate?
Yeah.
It's got to be up there. I don't even know what I'm talking
Valentine's
about.
would be the next.
Is Christmas Eve number one?
I would say Christmas Eve is definitely number 1
Look at me,
Look
buddy.
at that. Yeah, you're in the biz.
because most men wait to the last minute.
Yeah.
But those are the best men though, because they come in, they're desperate.
They're just going to buy whatever's in the
yeah,
cabinet.
they're like,
yeah.
well, how much is that? Don't worry, just pack it up.
Yeah, I need
There's
that.
not much selling
Yeah.
to it.
Well, divorces are so expensive. So fast forward, you end up in the industry. You're back in sales with jewelry. You end up, life brings you to Barbersville, West Virginia. The Huntington Mall. If anyone has ever come to the home office and spent the night, they've probably stayed at a hotel right by the Huntington Mall. That's where you were. And in your life, in that moment, walks probably a poorly dressed, a lousy attitude, probably not even a good haircut guy. We'll call him, for the sake of the story, we'll call him Chris Atkins. Okay.
Well, there's a story with that my first day there.
Okay.
So the district manager told the staff that I was coming to take over that store.
Yeah.
And he said, she's tough. You know, she's tough. She has certain expectations, and she sets those expectations, and you will follow them, you know, sort of set that, which I'm not that bad. But at any rate, Chris was like, oh my God, I don't have a suit jacket.
Oh, wow.
So he tells me later, but
Yeah.
he ran out because I was big on suit and ties for men in the jewelry store. Some of the managers were a little more lax, but I felt like if you're selling high-end jewelry, you should be dressed the part.
Yeah.
So it looks like you know what you're talking about. So, but Chris, he was running all over Macy's everywhere trying to find a jacket before I got there. Nobody knew exactly when I was coming.
Yeah.
But I was coming with the district manager. You know, so here's Chris running up the hallway with his suit jacket, you know. And that's how I met Chris Atkins.
That was...
How did he look in that new suit jacket he just picked up?
Pretty
Did he
good.
fool you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have any instinct like, this guy just ran and bought this thing?
Yeah, it still has tags on
I
it.
sort of, you know, thought it looks awfully Chris. He hasn't been wearing this long. But it, you know, Chris is something. I told them at lunch today that he's the reason why I use so many red bottles of L'Oreal hair dye, because I got grayer with him.
With him running that case?
He was my assistant. Well, he started out as a full-time associate when I got there, but he soon became my assistant manager. And all kidding aside, the reason he became my assistant manager was because he was pretty amazing at his job.
Yeah.
But he was also... that
What
gray
did he
area.
do to give you gray hair? No, Chris is fantastic. We're not trying to pile.
No.
Aaron is
No, I
trying
am.
to make a
I
joke.
will pile on as much.
I'm
Yeah.
just genuinely curious. Like what did he do that stretched you
Because
out?
Chris would do what it took to sell a piece of jewelry.
Well, isn't
And
that
if
excellent?
Excellent. Except when the conversation starts out, boss, I got something to tell you. I knew he either cut the price way below what we were supposed to, or he took in a trade on something and gave them some ridiculous trade amount that was not even possible.
I see. So he's moving product.
Oh, he's moving product. And sometimes at deep expense.
Man, sounds
bottom
like he's a
line.
customer's best friend.
Yeah, this
He
guy,
definitely
yeah.
was. He had a following.
Yeah.
He definitely did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you move along, life happens, you end up moving back to Tennessee. Chris ends up through Adam Canterbury, I believe, being told about Village Caregiving. Chris joins Charleston, ends up at the home office. Opportunity presents itself for Johnson City, and Chris looks back and says, there was a time in my life where the person that I valued most professionally, the person I looked up to the most, is in Johnson City, and I think they would be the right fit for Village Caregiving. And that's how this thing comes full circle. Is that a bow
Yes.
on that story?
And I will tell you, Jeff, the hardest thing I ever did was to tell Chris Atkins I was leaving to come back to Tennessee.
Really?
Because we really did become close, and we were a good team. We brought a
Obviously.
store from $3 million to $4.5 million a year, and it was with a lot of hard work. We
Wow.
worked long hours, very
Well,
long hours.
It speaks for itself. I mean, he recommends you for this job, so he must love you. You trust him enough to take a leap of faith, change career path to do it. So that's really cool. Good for that's good.
Yeah.
You want to do some questions?
I love questions.
I'm not sure if I love questions.
Keep on talking about anything you'd like. Then
I'm just kidding.
we don't have to.
What kind of questions you got over there, buddy?
Well, we can go news. Let's just
Let's see what's in there.
pull some one of those out of there. Shuffle those up.
Try to do me a favor.
These are
Just
pretty serious, by the way.
pull one of those out of there.
Serious questions?
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe I don't remember what all of them are, but some of them are. It might be. If it's if it's too serious, we'll go on.
What do we got there?
Well, this one's not bad. Finish the sentence growing up means.
That's good.
Oh, wow.
What does that mean? What does growing up mean to you?
Having to adult.
And what does that mean?
Being responsible and all the things that go with being responsible.
That's a tough question to put somebody on the spot with.
I
Growing up.
just told this story yesterday. We bought a house that had bats in it. I don't like bats.
What?
Yeah,
you bought a house.
Well, we bought the house, and the house came with some.
The one you live in now?
Yeah, it had bats in the attic.
Oh.
And
I thought you just meant randomly just bought a house.
and
the
they
other
will
day.
they would used to that they're out now, and everything's sealed up and remediated. But occasionally bats would get downstairs. There was this like year transitional period where they kept trying to seal it up, but bats would get in.
Charla, are you wondering how this is going to tie in
Yeah,
to
that's fair.
Yeah.
growing
I'm-
up?
I'm curious.
He does this.
I have to. So I am in there. There's a bat flying around in the living room.
Yeah.
I'm in there. Danielle has fled with the kids to a different room. And I just remember being in there, and I'm like, well, there's no one else that's going to do this. And I'm like, this is my job. I didn't want to do it. If they called right now and said there's another bat in there, I wouldn't want to go home and take care of it.
Right.
But that's just like that growing up thing. Like, well, I mean, I can't call my 70-plus-year-old dad to come kill this bat. And if my kids are sleeping here tonight, looks like I'm heading in and battling this bat.
You don't make the call anymore. You're the one
I'm
getting
it,
called.
man. Yeah, that has been like the adult thing, the just growing up. Like there ain't no one else to call, buddy. Get in there.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Jeff, let me ask
he
you a
always
question.
gets there.
What does growing up mean to you? Finish that sentence. Growing up means...
It means that you understand who you are, what you're willing to put up with and what you're not, where you draw the line of people that are trying to take advantage of you, or how charitable you're willing to be. Lots of million different scenarios in life, but you know who you are, what you say yes and no to. You're okay with that no matter how it turns out, and you understand your principles, your values. I've told my son this before. It's not going to be any magical age. It's not going to be any financial success or marriage or even having kids. That stuff happens as you get older. But you'll know who you are as an adult when you actually know who you are, and you know what you stand for and what you don't.
Yeah. Wow.
Drop the mic.
Charlotte, let me ask you a question.
Oh, no.
What's the nicest thing a friend has ever done for you? This is your real opportunity to give that shout out to that friend.
This is a good question.
Yeah. What's the nicest thing? You can think about it for a second.
Yeah. We can edit this time
Yeah.
out, but I actually want to think about this too. The nicest thing a friend has ever
nicest
done
thing.
for you. So many friends are going to be mad when they're not the one. Aaron's never done anything nice for me before.
That's something that would be hard for me. My best friend, she did lots of nice things for me.
Now, what do you think the nicest thing she ever did was? You could also make up a scenario and we would never know. Unless it was something like they gave me an airplane or something. We would probably be able to check that.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but when you actually really start thinking about it, I could spend, you think I'm being silly, I could spend an entire day thinking about this and get a lot of reward out of it. It's a great reflective question.
The nicest
A lot
thing.
of gratitude and reflection in that, and probably a bunch of happy memories come back along the way. Yeah, we have that question. Put that in my pocket.
Yeah, you're just going to hold on
Take
to that
that
guy.
home with me.
I'll go first.
Okay.
How about this? Okay. So this is, I've had good fortune in my life. People have been very, very kind to me and done me very nice things. Maybe the nicest thing in mine and your relationship was we were in Chicago, and the girl, Sarah and Danielle, were doing some shopping. You and I were just hanging out. We were up there for a conference. Yeah, we were meeting. You did some very rapid shopping at the store. Do you remember?
Are you talking about the H&M there where they have like a bar upstairs?
Yeah.
We just left the lady shopping
Yeah.
on the first floor and did like a typical guy thing.
We just hung
went
out.
upstairs.
Yeah. And but we went to a restroom. There was a restroom there. We was getting ready to head back out, and ran in the restroom, came out, and there was a suit jacket hanging there, and it was. And I was like, "What a really cool jacket, right?" And Danielle and Sarah were very sweet. They're like, "Oh, you should try it on." And I looked at it and I was like, "That is a really cool suit jacket." But not like price wise, definitely not going to happen. But it was a really cool jacket. And then, I don't know, 2 weeks later, a package shows up at my house. Open this package, and there's that suit jacket. And it's from Jeff. He had not only remembered the suit jacket, got the right size, didn't tell anyone, and this thing just kind of shows up. And it was just kind of one of those, like, that's a random act of kindness. There was no glory for it. No, it was just a true friend saying, "Hey, I like that, and you should have that." And there's not a time that I don't see that suit jacket in my closet that I don't think about that. It was just one of the kindest acts of generosity that was just unsolicited, and not like a major thing had happened in my life. You bought it for like you just were just kind to be kind. And I thought it was very cool.
I'm glad that meant that much
Yeah,
to you, man.
it
That's
still
sweet.
does to this day.
Look at that, buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked great on you. I was like, he's got to have this thing. I mean, like it's, yeah. Well, that was a pleasure to do. Have you thought of anything?
I'm having a hard time.
Well, I've got 100 thoughts, but man, like,
I've got a zillion thoughts, but I'm not sure which one rates the nicest
okay.
because they're all pretty good.
Well, we got one good story that made me look excellent, by the way. So, do that one again.
Oh, wow. This is a tough one. Let me ask you this,
tougher
okay?
than the last one?
What would, if you had because we don't have a way to write this down, so we'll use this scenario. You had a visitor from outer space come and say, "Hey, real quick, I got to go back and tell the rest of humanity this. What's the key to being happy?"
We're covering simple ground today, Charla, okay? Sometimes we ask, like, how are things going in the office?
I wish you were asking that.
You got the key to happiness. You want to take a shot at it?
I think I've learned over the years, being 53 now, and it's taken me a long time to get there. The key to being happy is to be at ease with yourself and not worry about what other people think. I think I spent a lot of time early years worrying about what everybody else thought of me or what I was doing or how I looked or whatever. And I think that coming to the realization that none of that really matters and you got to be happy with who you are, that's a good key to happiness, because then I feel like everything starts falling into place. Family, love, all the things, because you're happier with yourself.
Not only do you realize that it doesn't really matter that much what other people think of you, but it's also probably not even right. That's just your story you've told yourself about what they think.
Usually,
They might not think anything.
Yeah.
Might be right, might be wrong.
When you say, you was talking about your mom earlier, building on her limited education ability, what all she was able to accomplish in life. You mentioned your age at 53. Do you, looking back, you would have known mom at 53, right? Like I remember my parents in their 50s. I would have sworn I'm 39, that my parents at 39 they were like full-blown adults. They had children, lives, careers, like they were. I am now convinced that they didn't have any more of an idea of life than I have at 39. I'm like, well, how did we get through this? I thought you guys knew what was going on. I thought by the time you reach your late 30s, you got this thing figured out.
No.
Isn't it wild that
so.
at 53 you say, like, I think the key to happiness is just like self, not necessarily worrying about the stories that other people are telling. It's a wild thing. I don't know.
By the way, you don't look 53 years old. That's a real compliment.
Well, thank you.
You're doing well.
Thank you.
Well, you get a diet and exercise routine, or how you stay healthy? Is health a big priority in your life, or not really?
It has become definitely a priority in life, for sure.
What's your routine?
I mean, I wish I could say I worked out, but I don't. And now that I'm more sitting behind a desk, I have to think a lot more about what I eat and that sort of thing. But walking, I try to do a lot of walking. In fact, I put a treadmill in my office because I was sitting behind the desk too much. So I try to get up and walk 10 minutes and I hurt my back really bad. So I've had 2 back surgeries. And I realized, I was like, oh man, I've got to do something. I've got to turn this ship around.
Yeah.
I've got to get healthy and get stronger so this never happens again.
I need to too.
Hey, real quick, what's the key to happiness?
Oh yeah, real quick.
Same thing she said.
They laughed.
That was a good answer.
It was a good answer.
I'm stealing it.
There's no reason to have to recreate that thing.
Yeah.
No. Great answer. Well, Jeff, before we go, I did have one question for you, and this is something I've always wondered. What do you dream about a lot?
Last night I dreamt. This is probably my most common dream. I had it last night. I'm in a video game. What I'm trying to accomplish to get to the next level is not always super clear, but there's like stages to it, and I know that. And I've got to like find something or escape a room or like do something. I'm in a video game. That's my number one dream.
Wow. You know, this is what's crazy. What's your answer?
To what?
What do you dream about a lot?
A lot? I dream a lot about water. For some reason, a lot of my dreams have water and waves, and
Really?
I'm not really sure what that means. I'm scared to death of walls of water.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
A tsunami.
And I love to swim. It's not that
Yeah.
I'm afraid of water. It's just like walls of water. I don't know why.
Did that come into play? I'm not trying to be funny, but like in what the tragedy that just happened there and the flooding and stuff,
I
did
thought
that make it
about
like extra fearful?
I thought about it. If I was in those homes down next to that river, I don't even know. I wouldn't be there. I would have left.
Holy smokes.
Because so many didn't.
Yeah.
So, but
I dream so rarely that I remember. Like Daniel has very vivid dreams. The kids I don't have a lot of vivid dreams. So when I read that's what's throwing me off. When I read that, I was like thinking of daydreaming. Like, what do I like? I don't know if fantasize is the right word, but like, what do I think about? Like, daydream about? I do a lot of daydreaming. Like,
Do you really?
I do. Embarrassingly so.
Okay.
I don't know you're getting your
That's a
money's
dream.
worth out of me. I'm just going to be honest.
I'll be honest with you. I'm even more interested in what you daydream about because, frankly, nobody cares about other people's dreams.
Right.
If you want to bore a room, start talking about your dream. Well, nobody cares. Shut up. But I do care what you dream about while you're awake.
I never get embarrassed on this podcast.
He's
for some
embarrassed.
reason, admittingly that I openly admitting that I daydream frequently for some reason is mildly embarrassing.
Why?
I don't know.
I think everybody daydreams.
Okay.
We don't talk about it though.
Yeah,
Aaron.
that's the problem. I think that's where I got off
concerning.
base here. I've talked about
feel like you're admitting to not being productive enough or something?
maybe. I do task like they give me a hard time this morning. They were joking about this. One of the folks on the team asked, like, how do I get nervous during podcast day or do I look forward to podcast day? Those sorts of things. And someone else misheard it and thought they heard, do I like podcasts? They're like, oh no, he doesn't listen to anything in the car. I drove all the way to work this morning, no audio at all in the car. I'm kind of like daydreaming. I'm focused, I'm driving, but I am daydreaming.
About?
Well, I just want to say I do it so frequent that it actually is pretty like I do an abnormal amount of daydreaming about like living like at the beach. Like right now, so at the end of every year we like to go to Palmetto Dunes and Hilton Head. It's kind of like a thing, right? I bet I spend the last 60 to 90 days of the year thinking abnormally about that, not wanting to be there. Not like, oh, I wish I was there instead of here. I don't have that. Just like being there, like picturing walking along the walking trails, picturing the restaurants that we eat at while we're there, like just kind of being there.
Do you think about things like that?
So I live an hour from the office, so I have a pretty long drive to the office. So
Okay, perfect. Main thing you find yourself thinking about.
what I'm about to, my day ahead of me.
And do you picture yourself in that day, or are you thinking about the tasks that have to be done?
The tasks that have to be done and how I'm going to
So
line
you're
them
just
up.
organizing your day
Organizing
and
my
life.
thoughts. That's how I spend my mornings. Now, my evenings, I listen to a book. Or I pick up my granddaughter and she's telling me about
Talks
her
all
day.
the way
So
there.
that's always
Yeah.
good.
Do you daydream a lot?
No. If I do spend my time thinking about stuff, it's normally work related, probably. I mean, like, but that's a village caregiving. That's like a founder type of thing. Like, it's like a kid. I can't turn that off. It's probably not even good. What can we do better? Every book I read as it relates back to the company, every lesson I learn, how can I take this to village caregiving? I live in that world. I can't stop.
I watched a show the other day. I ended up daydreaming. It was about New Orleans. The show was based in New Orleans. I've never been. Yeah, I bet I spent an hour after that daydreaming about what life in New Orleans would be like.
I love it. And I don't know. I don't think you should be embarrassed either.
I don't think it's healthy.
Well, I do.
No, I think it is healthy.
100%.
I agree with Jeff.
Here we talk about this a little bit sometimes, but gosh, I shouldn't say this. I'm going to give away too much. Look, the human mind is only capable of doing about 3.5, maybe 4 hours of actual flow state, concentrated, like work, deep thought work a day before it. And this goes for Albert Einstein, right? I'm not making this up. Read about it. Once you've hit about 4 hours max, you have to go to sleep for the night and recharge this thing so you can do it again tomorrow. It's why whenever we're at work, and we have an 8-hour workday, everybody does. If I see people standing around the kitchen talking for a little while, for 15, 30 minutes, I'm not the kind of boss or whatever that says, get back to work. There's only 4 good hours in this thing anyways, and you need some breaks throughout the day. So if you're daydreaming a part of that, to me, that's sort of, again, like a renewal activity before you go into your next 30-minute flow state, and that's a good, healthy thing. You could say, well, then why don't you just make the workday 3.5 or 4 hours? Because we're all going to stand around the kitchen some.
That's right.
Right, you got to be a little bit longer than the 4. Have lunch, you know.
Well, Charlotte, you're not going to believe this. We've come to the end of your podcast.
Wow.
Hopefully it went by quicker than you thought it would. Hopefully you had a good time.
I did. It was good.
Yes.
I enjoyed
Thank
it.
you for everything. You've been a wonderful guest. I need to give them to Johnson City soon. Right?
Yeah, can you say it without singing it? Anyways, it's no big deal.
Yes, I can. It's the only way I actually can. How does the line go? Tell us.
From Wagon Wheel?
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you. They can just play the clip. It won't get us canceled on YouTube. But it ends with, like, it goes up with Johnson City, Tennessee.
It might. I just. may
No, it's not.
have
It might.
paid
It
attention.
does.
But he's headed west from the Cumberland Gap to Johnson City, Tennessee. And I gotta get a move on before the sun. I hear my baby calling my name, and I know that.
He's probably right. I don't know.
Well, thank you, Charlotte, very much.
Charlotte, thanks for
You're
making the
welcome.
trip up. It's always a pleasure. I hope you come back and see us, okay?
I will.
Well, cool. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Clink, 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 clink.